Hello, class. Today we're talking comps, and a previous class we had talked about thumbnails, and I'm going to walk you through a piece that I did for a story called The Electric Wizard. The Electric Wizard does not refer to the death metal or doom metal band called by the same name. It's a story by Elizabeth Stuckey French, and she wrote it back in 1998. And I'm just going to walk you through my thumbnail process into the comps and also into the final. And here you see a page of comps, and I'm just kind of hashing out the idea of wizardry, magic, electricity in general. So you'll see light bulbs and lightning bolts, boxes down on the lower right. If you notice the light bulb with the box that you saw, the person in half, a rat. I believe there was a rat in the story that the boy who's the subject of the Electric Wizard, he actually has a rat in his room, if I remember right. It's been, like I said, since 1998, so it's a while for me to be thinking back. But these pieces, they could each, I think, be pushed into a direction of final illustration. However, the final illustration is only going to be one. So I keep working through this idea of electricity, magic, wizardry, and there's also a big overlying theme of alienation. This little boy, it's a tragedy in the story where this kid dies, but the parents don't really know him, and they really can't answer any questions. And in a sense, it's a lot like suicide in general. So there's a bigger themes besides electricity and rats. So as I move through, gotta step to the second page of ideas. You'll notice I'm still kind of working out the idea of electricity and magic and hands. Here we have a piece in the upper right of wizard hands kind of making a Dumbledore kind of electric ball. In the lower left, those same hands are now seen holding a light bulb. And for the first time, I've actually introduced this little mysterious boy. If you look in the lower right hand corner, there is a picture of a kid standing on top of a lightning bolt. And that theme seemed to pop back up as I moved on. And in the upper left, you notice there's a Harry Potter kind of kid with a dunce hat on there, standing on top of a lightning bolt going over top of what seems to be the earth below. And even though this is a vertical theme, I needed to push this into a horizontal spread. I kind of like the shoulders and arms with a lightning bolt kind of zapping the head, but I did not go with that one, nor did I go with the kid down in the lower left who seems to be getting electrocuted or at least exuding plasma. It's an interesting idea, but I did not think that was where it needed to head. So I'm back to thinking about this kid on the lightning bolt with the earth down below. It's got a good lonely feel. And even though you'll notice it's all white in the background now, I did not see it as light in the background when I was working it out. I thought it needed to go dark. So from there, I jump into pushing that idea of the lonely kid. I'm still trying to work out ideas like maybe this one, the electric lightning bolt crashing into the empty shirt might be a good idea. There's mom and dad in the background. They're very much wondering about this enigma of a child. They don't quite understand what's going on. They're just as lonely as he is. Yeah. Yeah. Don't ask. I still thought about this rat and thought maybe the rat could have something to do with the image. So I digressed. And but this didn't go anywhere. But it's a crazy, crazy picture. So this is my what I consider my last thumbnail. And some folks might consider this a comp. It is fairly large, but I was still in the thumbnail stage. You notice I have a lot of sweeping lines in the sky behind there. They're just really loose. I'm still working very loosely. But I really got the idea now. This is where I want to go. This is the final, and this is the one that I'm going to push. And here is what I consider my comp. It's pretty well realized. The kid is going to be in silhouette. He's on a lightning bolt that's traveling through a dark sky. Down below is the earth. His parents are there. You'll notice that the lightning bolt comes from the little boy's room and, launches him into space, into oblivion. This is a poor slide. I only have a small version of this right now, but you get an idea. This is the final as it existed in 1998. The Electric Wizard. He is rocketing off into space, full color. However, I was not fully satisfied with this piece, even after long, that it was finished. I jumped back into it 10 years later. In 2009, I picked it back up and reworked it, this time just having yellow as the highlight. And I had since actually found the author and sent this off to her, and we had some nice correspondence about it. She really liked the imagery for her story, so I'm pretty proud of this one. But this is a merger of my new technique, which is digital. Whereas before, I'm going to back up, this is oil. This is oil on paper. This is digital. So, color. This is one version of a color piece, and it can be considered a final. In fact, I do consider it a final. This is all watercolor, and I'm actually working on top of a drawing, the exact same drawing that you'll see in the next one. Because what I do is I'm actually printing out my drawing on watercolor paper. And so I can go right in with fresh washes and make this work out the color to a point that I'm satisfied, and then put it aside and print out another one and try a different color scheme. Now these are exactly the same illustrations and the same hand that drew them, but if you look side by side, they're two different themes entirely. The red and yellow and orange are a really cool effect. It's very Dr. Seuss like. However, the one on the right is more children's book full color comp. So it really is then up to the art director as far as where they think they want to push it. I like both, but that's because I created both. They're both my hand and my eye and my tastes. Likewise, this is a piece I did in 2009 about Chinatown. One of them is sepia, which is basically nut brown Winsor & Newton ink with a wash. And then on the right is full color watercolor Winsor & Newton paint. I think there's a little bit of gouache, white gouache, down below around the little boy who's at the tail end of the dragon. They are basically the same layout, and again, this is one of those things where I'm printing out a very light drawing on watercolor paper and then proceeding to affect the color with different types of color treatment. This is a early piece, Thomas Jefferson and how he looked at the world in a different way. Also, at the time that I did this in the 90s, there was a lot of hullabaloo about his legacy and how upside down it was. So I just remembered back about standing on my head as a child and looking at the house, my living room, all upside down. The ceiling is the floor and the floor is the ceiling, and how a person's legacy can be turned on its head too. So On the left is a color comp that I did in washes of oil. And on the right is the actual final, which is all oil. And the intensity of the one on the right is closer to the original one by, I believe it was Rembrandt Peale, one of the famous Peale brothers of the who did all the politicians of the early revolution and notable people. Now, the comp on the left, the color comp says, okay, earth tones, subdued. However, it does not push as far as the actual finish on the right. And that is because I knew I was going to use Rembrandt Peale's piece as my color comp in a sense. I just pulled what he was doing and tried to mimic it. So in a sense, he did my color comp for me because I was using his style in the final. So comps, they are your roadmap to the final illustration. You are planning out everything and you have a clear direction of where you're headed. Number two, you're working out the color and the layout issues. You're really honing it. If you notice how many ideas I had at the beginning of this whole electric wizard, there were so many directions this could have gone. However, eventually we cemented it down to one clear idea and we pursued that. Number three, it reassures the client. The client sees that you are clear on your direction. Your final comps are very, very well stated. They understand exactly what they're going to get. They're not getting some mysterious piece that comes from left field at the last moment, heaven forbid, because they are putting a lot of risk. Well, they feel that they're risking money and time by allowing you to have a hands off and hands free execution of this. So they really feel reassured when you deliver a sensible comp in a reasonable amount of time that they can comment and make changes if they need to. And then they get the last one, which is no surprises. They are not in any way surprised by what you're delivering because you delivered on that previous comp. So, color comps, you're pushing your work from the thumbnail stage to the most viable of those thumbnails into a final piece. So, good luck, folks.